Live from Angkasapuri, I'm Nur Zamri, and this is updates at noon. Making the headlines today, Ofcom to monitor ticket flight prices ahead of GE15. $1.9 million vehicles expected on class highways during Deepavali weekend. The Malaysian Aviation Commission (MAVCOM) will monitor the pricing of flight tickets to ensure that airlines do not hike up prices arbitrarily in light of the approaching 15 general election. Transport Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wee Ka Siong said the MAVCOM can intervene if airlines have unreasonably increased prices for flight tickets.
Kita akan serah kepada MAVCOM untuk melihat macam ni. Kalaulah melihat dynamic pricing mechanism yang ada sekarang, sudah tentulah kalau diumumkan suatu tarikh, ramai yang masuk nak menempah. Kalau ikut apa yang sedia ada, dynamic pricing mechanism, mana-mana syarikat airline dalam dunia pun macam tu. Ya, lebih awal ditempah dia murah. Dan lebih dekat apabila menjelang satu peristiwa, dia akan menjadi lebih tinggi. Sebab itulah saya serah kepada MAVCOM, terserahkan pada MAVCOM untuk mereka meninjau sama ada ianya betul-betul mengikut apa yang telah dibenarkan ataupun di luar batasan.
Previously, there were Malaysians who complained on social media that flight tickets have soared following the Election Commission's announcement of the polling date. The Malaysian Fire and Rescue Department, JBPM, is ready to ensure the smooth running of GE15. Its Director General, Datuk Seri Muhammad Hamdan Wahid, said preparations have been made since September while taking into account all possible factors, including floods.
We are actually on standby mode dan juga in emergency mode bersedia untuk mengatasi apa-apa. Tapi kita akan berkolaborasi dengan agensi yang lain. Kalau diperlukan membantu, kita akan membantu apa sekalipun.
Elaborating further on the matter, Datuk Seri Muhammad Hamdan said the department is always on the high alert while taking note of the weather forecast and flood risk areas. He added that the department had also taken the initiative to limit the amount of leaves allowed to be taken by its personnel next month. The Cybersecurity Malaysia Awards Conference and Exhibition (CSM ACE) will be merged with the ASEAN Level Cyber Defence and Security ASEAN Depot Expo and Conference Cyber DSA. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the event will take place at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre on 15 to 17th of August next year. In his speech, read out by Communications and Multimedia Ministry Secretary General Datuk Seri Muhammad Mentik at the Cybersecurity Malaysia Silver Jubilee Ceremony, Tan Sri Anwar said the event will convene cyber industries players from the ASEAN region, including professionals in the private and public sectors as well as security and military personnel, to bring the industry towards excellence.
Saya yakin Cyber DSA akan berjaya dan berupaya membawa satu dimensi baharu dalam proses melestari bidang keselamatan cyber di Malaysia. Justru semua pihak berkepentingan perlu memainkan peranan dan memberi tumpuan terhadap usaha menangani ancaman dan serangan cyber.
The Department of Statistics Malaysia (DOSM) recorded 2.1 million foreigners working in various sectors in Malaysia up to June this year. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department of Economy, Datuk Seri Mustafa Mohamad, said 1.9 million were recorded last year and 2.1 million in 2020. Datuk Sri Mustafa said the government does not deny that the country still needs foreign workers in various sectors, such as construction, plantation, manufacturing and domestic. He noted that Malaysia still needs about 15% of the total labour force and needs to attract the locals to work in the plantation or construction industry by providing better facilities so as to reduce the country's dependence on foreign labour. Speaking after opening the Statistics Carnival 2022 and 1 decade of the Malaysia Statistical Turning Institute celebration yesterday, Datuk Sri Mustafa also said that the OSM released over 500 types of statistics annually to help the country manage at all levels, especially in the economic and socio-economic sectors.
Pentingnya mereka mengeluarkan data-data ikut masa telah ditetapkan, data-data yang berintegriti dan tepat dan digunakan oleh bank negara, oleh pelabur asing dan dalam negara, jabatan kerajaan, oleh NGO, semua pihak menggunakan angka-angka yang diterbitkan oleh Jabatan Perangkaan.
The 2022 Mega Festival for Hawkers, Traders and Micro-Entrepreneurs, which was scheduled for 2 days at Dataran Merdeka, has been extended for another day until Saturday. Federal Territories Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Shahidan Kasim said this was due to the encouraging response from city folk, with about 20,000 visitors attending the program organised by the ministry on the first day yesterday. Explaining further, Datuk Sri Dr. Shahidan said the ministry wanted to extend the event until Monday, but it has to give way to the KL Car-Free Morning Program on Sunday. The event gathers 506 hawkers, traders and micro-entrepreneurs from across the country, with a target of attracting 30,000 visitors.
Kita ni yang pertama himpun, yang kedua memperkenalkan semula penjaja dengan pendekatan baru dan juga kita nak umumkan tentang insentif usaha untuk bantu penjaja di wilayah seperti kawasan bebas niaga dan juga lain-lain lagi. Dan dalam masa yang sama tadi kita juga akan umumkan sesuatu yang lebih bermakna yang besar kepada penjaja pada hari Sabtu malam.
He said in addition to being a platform to introduce products sold by the traders, the festival was also expected to attract tourists and further boost the country's economy, which has been affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Plus Malaysia Berhad Plus are expecting 1.9 million vehicles to use the Plus Expressway during the Deepavali holidays and additional school holidays starting today until the 26th of October. Plus Chief Operations Officer Datuk Zakaria Ahmad Zabidi said Plus has released its Travel Time Advisory (TTA) for the said period for road users to plan their trip in conjunction with the Deepavali celebrations this weekend and into next week. In a statement, Datuk Zakaria said road users can refer to the Time Travel Advisory through Plus website and Plus social media platforms. He said that the TTA for road users leaving the city for their hometowns using the North-South Expressway and SE is to prevent and manage congestion on the highway, rest areas and toll plazas during the festive period. Datuk Zakaria advised motorists from the Klang Valley heading towards Perlis, Kedah, Pulau Pinang, North Perak and Johor to enter the highway before 10 a.m. and urged those coming to the Klang Valley from these states starting 24th to 26th of October to enter the expressway before 10 a.m. He added that Plus will ensure no lane closure, maintenance work or upgrading work is carried out from 21st to 25th October so as to avoid any inconvenience to road users. He also said that 512 Plus Ronda personnel would be deployed throughout the festive season to assist road users who seek help. UK to appoints new Prime Minister on 28th of October. That and more coming up after this short break.
Hepatitis adalah penyakit keradangan hati akibat daripada jangkitan virus hepatitis. Hepatitis A yang berjangkit melalui pencemaran makanan dan air biasanya menyebabkan jangkitan hati yang akut dan tidak berpanjangan. Hepatitis B dan C pula berjangkit melalui darah yang tercemar. Antaranya adalah melalui perkongsian jarum suntikan, transfusi darah, hubungan seksual dan jangkitan ibu kepada anak. Berlainan daripada hepatitis A, hepatitis B dan C boleh menyebabkan kerosakan hati yang kronik dan bara hati. Kebanyakan pesakit hepatitis B dan C tidak mengalami tanda dan gejala pada peringkat awal. Tanda atau gejala seperti muntah darah, jaundice dan busung hanya akan muncul setelah penyakit hepatitis menjadi semakin kronik. Oleh itu, lakukan ujian saringan hepatitis jika anda berisiko tinggi untuk mendapat jangkitan dan dapatkan rawatan dengan segera jika perlu di klinik kesihatan terdekat. Bersama kita cegah hepatitis.
Welcome back. Bangladesh said Myanmar has agreed to take back the Rohingya refugees under a bilateral agreement signed in November 2017. Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen said China, being an important ally of Myanmar, will facilitate the repatriation process, adding that the current Myanmar government is also developing facilities in the Rakhine state. The top Bangladeshi diplomat briefed the media following the meeting with the Chinese envoy to Dhaka, Li Jiming. He, however, criticized Myanmar's authorities for complicating the process by demanding identity documents from the Rohingya. He noted 2 previous moves for repatriation have failed due to Rohingyas' lack of confidence in Myanmar's authorities. Underlining Japan, Russia and the UK as other strategic partners of Myanmar, he added that Bangladesh has been in constant contact with all of these nations as well as India in order to ensure the peaceful and sustainable return of Rohingya to the home country of Myanmar. Bangladesh is currently hosting more than 1.2 million Rohingyas in the country's congested makeshift tents in the southern border district of Cox's Bazar. Most of the stateless people fled a brutal military crackdown in the Rakhine state in August 2017. The ruling Conservatives planned a rapid contest to replace Liz Truss, who resigned as Prime Minister just 45 days after taking office, making her the shortest-lived Premier in UK history. Party managers said the new leader will be elected on the 28th of October, setting a high bar of 100 nominations for candidates amassed from their fellow members of Parliament that might block any comeback by former Premier Boris Johnson. The race will be effectively limited to 3 candidates at the start before the 357 Tory MPs vote on their preferred candidate on Monday. The final 2 candidates, who would then go to around 170,000 Conservative Party members via the online ballot, in an accelerated timetable that avoids the drawn-out contests in which Truss defeated Rishi Sunak over the summer following Johnson's resignation.
When we reach 2 final candidates, we will also conduct an indicative ballot so that it is clear what the balance of preference within the parliamentary party is.
If only one candidate secures the nominations of 100 lawmakers, there will be no vote for party members, and that candidate automatically becomes party leader and Prime Minister on Monday. Ukraine accused Russia of turning its energy grid into a battleground and sparking a new wave of refugees from the country as Kyiv began curbing electricity consumption ahead of winter's arrival. With winter quickly approaching, Ukrainians were racing to restore damaged power facilities and preparing for a sharply curtailed electricity supply due to the Russian attacks. According to authorities, energy-saving measures were put in place across the country after Russian missile and drone strikes destroyed at least 30% of the country's power stations in a week. Ukrainian's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian attacks on this country's energy facilities were driving more Ukrainians to flee to Europe.
Також Росія провокує нову хвилю міграції українців в країни ЄС. Російський терор проти наших енергооб'єктів спрямований на те, щоб створити Україні якнайбільше проблем з електрикою і теплом цієї осені і взимку. і щоб якнайбільше українців поїхали до ваших країн.
Following blackouts in parts of Kyiv overnight, the city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, urged businesses to limit screens and signage lights as much as possible. He said even small savings and a reduction in electricity consumption in every home will help stabilize the operation of the national energy system. About 50 people were killed and nearly 300 injured in violence that broke out in Chad yesterday as hundreds took to the streets to demand a quicker transition to a democratic rule. Prime Minister Saleh Kib Zabo, who gave the death toll at a news conference, said the government was still compiling casualties from what he described as an armed investigation. However, human rights groups said that unarmed civilians were massacred as security forces brutally cracked down on demonstrations in the capital, N'Djamena, and several other cities. The vast military-run Central African nation has been in crisis since the April of 2021 death of President Idris Deby, who ruled with an iron fist for 3 decades. His son, Muhammad Idris Deby, seized power in the immediate aftermath and initially promised an 18-month transition to elections, but on the 1st of October, he announced they would be pushed back by 2 years. Opposition and civil society groups called for the protests yesterday, which would have marked the end of an initially agreed 18-month transition period. The government banned them, citing security reasons, but demonstrators showed up early in the morning, barricaded roads and torched the party headquarters of the Prime Minister. The government declared a state of emergency and a curfew of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., although the President had already declared a state of emergency on Wednesday due to catastrophic floods. In a related development, the United Nations expressed concern about the violence and urged all parties to exercise restraint. It condemned the lethal use of force against protesters in Chad, demanding an investigation after dozens of people died.
We are concerned about the violence in the context of the demonstrations that we've seen in Chad today. Those demonstrations have reportedly led to the loss of life and injuries. We call on the authorities to ensure that the security, safety, and human rights of all Chadians, including the right of freedom of expression, peaceful assembly, and association, are respected. We also call on all parties to refrain from violence or excessive use of force and to remain committed to the spirit of dialogue in the interest of peace and stability.
Potential production of cocaine in Colombia and the area sown with coca, the drug-based ingredient, rose last year to the highest levels in 2 decades of monitoring. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, said possible output rose 14% to 1,400 metric tons, and the area sown with coca shot up 43% to 204,000 hectares. The report also said increases in output are due to more productive varieties, better technical assistance, and the replanting of cocoa bushes. The UNODC said these are the highest figures in its 22 years of monitoring, urging the government to improve security conditions for communities transitioning to legal economies and increase social spending. Despite decades of anti-narcotics efforts, Colombia remains a top producer of cocaine, and its government comes under constant pressure from major ally the United States to reduce output. New leftist President Gustavo Petro, who has called the war on drugs irrational, has proposed regulating narcotics, expanding voluntary crop substitution programs, focusing enforcement on drug gang leadership, and increasing social funding in production areas. Still to come in sports, Kasma Daniel ready for another Malaysia GP milestone. Stay with us. Petaling Jaya City FC PJCT will donate ticket sales from the Malaysia Cup first round home game against Johor Darul Ta'zim JDT on 26th of October to the family of the late PJCT right back Rogers Perumal, who died in a motorbike accident on Monday. Club President Datuk Sri Subhan Kamal said PJCT owner Datuk Sri Vijay Eswaran wants the club to contribute ticket sales from the game that will be played at the Petaling Jaya City Council MPVJ Stadium as a tribute for Raj's services to the club. Football fans can purchase their PJCT JDT Malaysia Cup match tickets at the MPVJ Stadium on the 26th October via www.tickethotline.com. Tickets are priced at RM30 for the grandstand and RM25 for the open terrace. National wildcard entry Kasma Daniel. Kasma Yudin is determined to finish the Moto2 race with a solid achievement at the 2022 Malaysian Motorcycle Grand Prix at the Sepang International Circuit SIC, which takes place this weekend. Kasma, who got married last week, said having settled down after the marriage had fueled his passion to do his best and achieve another milestone in his life. Kasma Daniel is among 3 national riders along with Azroy Hakim Anwar and Khairul Idham Pawi, or fondly known as Super Keep, to have received wildcard tickets to compete in the Moto2 under the Petronas MIE racing team, although Super Keep has been listed as a reserve rider. The 22-year-old racer will also compete in the Asian Road Racing Championship ARRC this season, considers the pressure of performing at home as a challenge leading up to the race day. For the record, Kasma Daniel had won a wildcard entry for the Moto3 class at the Malaysian GP 2017, but in the 2020 season, his dream to compete in the Moto2 class at Sepang was crushed, as the race was only held in Europe following the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to the 3 national riders who will compete in Moto2 this weekend, Malaysia also has another representative, Sharfuddin Azman, who will race on a wildcard entry for the Moto3 class. Moving on to tennis, Dominic Thiem elbowed his way into the European Open quarter-finals in Antwerp with a 6-1, 1-6, 7-5 win over Francisco Cerundolo last night. After both players sealed a dominant 6-1 set, it came down to the third. The Argentine got the first break of the third set, but Thiem broke back to the following game to level at 4-4. The former world number 3 showed grit as he finally put the number 6 seed away in a little over 2 hours. Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime also advanced with a solid 6-3, 6-3 win over French lucky loser Manuel Grenat. Auger-Aliassime struck 23 winners to earn his spot in the quarterfinals, where he will face Britton Evans. In other round 2 action, Sebastian Korda beat Karen Kashkanov 7-5, 7-6, and David Goffin surprised number 4 seed Diego Schwartzman with a 7-6, 6-2 win to earn their spots in the quarters. Meanwhile, Italy's Matteo Berrettini raced into the quarterfinals of the Naples Open, while the second round match of his compatriot Fabio Fognini was suspended in another hitch for the tournament. Before Berrettini fired 8 aces and 36 winners as he easily put away Spain's Roberto Carbelas Baena 6-4, 6-2. Yet another Italian, Lorenzo Massetti, also earned his place in the quarters with a 7-5, 6-3 win over Laszlo Djeri of Serbia. And while Fognini won his first round match on Thursday 6-4, 3-6, 6-3 against France's Hugo Grenier, his second round match against top seed Pablo Carreno Busta was suspended after the third game due to slippery court conditions. Carreno Busta leads the first set 3-0. Tournament organisers have been forced to postpone matches due to slippery conditions on the hard court caused by humidity, upsetting both players and spectators. Over in Sweden, Frances Tiafoe denied Elias Ymer a spot in the Stockholm Open quarter-finals alongside his brother Mikael Ymer in a hard-fought match on Thursday. It took the number 3 seed 3 sets and 2 tiebreaks to put the Swede away on his home turf. Ymer took the first set from the hard-hitting American, but Tiafoe outlasted him in the 2 tiebreaks to finally win 3-6, 7-6, 7-6 in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Earlier, Mikael Ymer earned his spot in the quarters by beating American Tommy Paul 6-2, 6-3 in front of a friendly crowd. Australia's Alex de Minaur also advanced with a 6-4, 6-2 win over JJ Wolf of the United States, while Emil Ruusuvuori of Finland beat Liisi Laheshka 6-2, 6-2. Double Formula One world champion Max Verstappen said he was just focusing on his job as rivals calls on Thursday for the governing FIA to come down hard on his Red Bull team for breaching last year's pending rules. Red Bull can seal their first Constructors World Championship since 2013 at the US Grand Prix on Sunday, but the achievement risk being overshadowed by the co's Capro. The governing FIA said on the 10th of October that Red Bull were guilty of a minor overspend last year, but gave no details. Media reports have indicated the team were $1.8 million over the $145 million cap, with McLaren boss Zak Brown saying this week that any team in breach were effectively cheating. The situation has become a major test for the FIA and the cap, which was introduced last year, but risks being undermined if not effectively enforced. Verstappen, who won his second title a day before the breach was confirmed, suggested rivals who questioned Red Bull's performance were reacting to the team's success. Teammate Sergio Perez agreed. Alfa Romeo's Valtteri Bottas, who was teammate to 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes in 2021, told reporters Red Bull should be handed a strict and harsh penalty, while Ferrari's Carlos Sainz said teams and drivers wanted clarity and fairness.
Why do we tell you stories?
Relevant,
New,
efficient,
accurate,
reliable. We bring you extraordinary stories from around the world, from politicians, bankers, and even your favorite celebrities. This and many more on RTM's English News.
That ends today's edition of Updates at Noon. Wrapping up with a reminder of our top story, Mafcom to monitor ticket flights rises ahead of GE15. Tune into News at 10 coming up at 10 p.m. on Saluran Berita RTM. Before we go, we'd like to remind everyone planning on a trip during this long weekend to have a safe journey. Don't forget to inspect your vehicles and follow the travel time advisory to avoid congestion. Till then, I'm Mira Zamri. Stay tuned to TV2. Salam keluarga Malaysia.